Do you know who Rob Reiner is? Well, his dad was Carl Reiner, a wonderful comedian and television guy, and he made the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And so when Rob was young, he'd go and watch his dad making the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And in fact, he got into a little bit of trouble being handsy with Mary Tyler Moore. I mean, those pants were irresistible. But he ended up becoming an actor in sitcoms, most famously The Meathead and All in the Family, and then he became a filmmaker. In part 2 of Bob Costas' interview with Rob Reiner from April 30th, 1992, this aired, the director talks about making a few good men with Jack Nicholson, and at length speaks about working with Jack. And then the two trivia nerds, Costas and Rob Reiner, have a TV theme song contest. It's not that. This part is actually the most disappointing part of Later I may have ever seen. Sorry, Bob. Are you going to watch it with me?
Boys and girls, for staying up later, Rob Reiner back for show 2. A couple of movies we didn't cover last night, one of which was The Princess Bride, and a lot of directors backed off from that because they couldn't figure out quite how to take this fairy tale and get it on screen. What devices did you use that made it work?
Well, I mean, basically what we did is we just went back to the book. I mean, there were all kinds of people that, a lot of people were attached to it over the years, Norman Jewis and Francois Truffaut and Robert Redford, and for whatever reason, I don't think that they didn't know how to do it as much as it was either going to be too costly, or studios were worried about the tone of the film, which is tongue-in-cheek. Satire is what closes Saturday night, and I think there was a lot of misgivings about that. I just went back to the book, and the whole idea of the story being read to somebody. In Bill Goldman's book, he talks about this book, this mythical book, The Princess Bride, and how much he loved it as a kid, and his father used to read it to him, and he wants to get it for his son, and for his birthday, and he gets it for his son. The kid reads it, he says, "This book stinks." He says, "Why do you tell me it's a good book? This is terrible." And then he realizes that he never actually read the book. He only had the book read to him, and when his father read it to him, he cut out all the boring parts and only gave him the chases and the duels and the escapes and all the exciting stuff. So that's the way we decided to do it. We decided to have it, a grandfather tell a grandson this story. And it's what also allowed me to do the picture, because to do just the story of The Princess Bride, I would not have been interested. But it grounded it in a reality where you had a grandfather and a grandson sharing this experience. Two people who were not close, who were brought closer together over sharing this experience of the book.
Oh, no. No, please.
What is it? What's the matter?
They're kissing again. Do we have to hear the kissing part?
Someday you may not mind so much.
Let's get out of the fire swamp. That sounded good.
Oh. You're sick, I'll humor you.
Peter Falk, obviously recognizable to any moviegoer at that time, but not so recognizable because it's before the Wonder Years. Fred Savage, the kid.
Yeah, Fred Savage was the little boy, and he did a great job.
Now tell me this, how did you saddle Andre the Giant up? Because he's riding a horse.
With a very big saddle. Andre, we had him on a horse, but at the end we were originally going to do a special effect where after the grandfather read the book to the boy, he says, "Can you read it to me tomorrow?" He says, "As you wish," which means "I love you," and he leaves. And the little boy was going to pick up the book and start leafing through it and start imagining all the things that he had heard his grandfather read. He was going to look out the window, and out the window he was going to see the Wesley and Buttercup and Inigo and Fezzik all on white horses, as he remembers them having ridden off at the end of the book, suspended in the air. And that was the way we were going to do it. So we had to do this shot. How the heck are we going to do it? We got to find a way to get Andre on a horse, We couldn't find a horse, first of all, big enough. And we wanted 4 white horses. There was no white horse big enough to hold Andre. We took a gray horse, we painted him white, And then we figured, how are we going to get Andre on the horse, because he's so big? We hooked up a pulley system. And we lowered him from the ceiling of a soundstage at Shepperton Studios down onto the horse so that he was just resting on the horse. And we paint out the wires, So
he's sort of like Kathy Rigby or Mary Martin in Peter Pan.
Peter Pan, just lowered onto the horse. I mean, I love Andre dearly. He's a great guy. He's very intelligent, the sweetest man in the world. And, you know, for all the wrestling people, he's he's the nicest person you'll ever want to meet. And very bright. He likes to have his wine occasionally. Well, Andre, this was the day, we were going to shoot this, the day that the Nouveau Beaujolais came out in England. Andre started about 9 o'clock in the morning. And Andre, I mean, he can drink because it doesn't bother, nothing affects him. But this started to affect him because he had about 20 bottles. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not
20, not glasses,
no, 20,
bottles.
20 bottles. 20 bottles. From the time he got up till the time we were ready to shoot. And they called me down. It was like 9 o'clock at night. And they said, you know, you want to check this rig? And I walk in, and it's kind of rainy at Shepperton. You know, then the rainy mist is coming down, and they open the soundstage doors, and there's this guy being lowered down from the ceiling after having drunk 20 bottles of Nouveau Beaujolais going, "Hey, boss," waving at me like this. And I'm thinking to myself, what do I do for a living? What job do I have? How do I get this job? It was really bizarre, very surreal.
Your new one is A Few Good Men. Right. Talk about directing some high-powered guys. Cruise and Nicholson.
Yeah, Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson and Demi Moore and Kiefer Sutherland and Kevin Bacon and a lot of really good actors in the film. J.T. Walsh, Kevin Pollak. It was great. I mean, all these people, you know, people have asked me before, you know, you don't usually have stars in the films, and now you're working, why do you want to work with stars, you know? And I don't really think of it in those terms, in terms of a star or not a star. I think, who's the best possible person for the part, who's available, who will work with me. And whoever that person is, I want to get them. And these people were the best possible for these parts. They were all professionals. There was no ego problems, none of that kind of thing. It was just really everybody going to work, working real hard, and doing their jobs. And it was a real pleasure. I mean, it was the easiest shoot I've ever been involved with.
You want to nervous.
Is directing Nicholson significantly different than directing any other actor?
Every actor is different. Directing Jack is unbelievably easy because he's one of the great film actors of all time. He knows his stuff. He comes to work totally prepared, and you don't have to. You know, it's like getting into a Ferrari. You know, all you got to do is turn on the engine, you know, and let it go. You know, occasionally it will be a slight thing here or there, but you know that you tweak something here or there. But basically, you know, it's you're working with the consummate professional who's loaded with talent, and it's real easy when you're working with Jack. He makes it easy, and he also makes it easy for everybody around him, and he sets a tone. You know, I mean, when you talk about the great film actors of all time, you know, Spencer Tracy or Bogart or, you know, Nicholson is in that category. I mean, he will be thought of, you know, forever as one of the great film actors of all time. And he also is aware of his position in the community, and he walks in and makes everybody feel comfortable and at ease right away. The best way I could describe it when he first came to the first reading is we all sat down, we all said hello and everything, and we started to read the script. And in the first reading, most time actors won't give you all that much. They're finding the character, they're stumbling through. Jack came so prepared, gave it such a full-out reading the first time through, it set the tone to everybody else that we're here to work and do our job. And the best way I could describe it, it was like, if you're all ball players, you know, and you're standing around the batting cage, and we're all professionals, we all do our job. You get in there, you take your 7 swings, and you get out, and the next guy comes in and takes his 7 swings. Well, and you're hitting the ball, you're getting good wood on the ball, you're hitting the ball well, and then all of a sudden Babe Ruth steps in the cage, and he starts clocking them, and they're hitting in the upper decks, and they're rattling around the seats, and you just stand there and watch, because he's doing the same. He's in the same business you're in, but he's doing it a little bit differently than you do it. So we all watched him. I mean, when he started reading his part, it was like the Babe. It was like watching the Babe, hitting them, you know, hitting those 450, 500 footers up into the upper deck. And it was just, you know, we were all in awe. We were in awe.
Are there actors who step it up and give the best performance of their life because they're in the presence of that? And then are there others that shrink from it?
Well, there are others who I think might shrink because of it, but most actors will rise. It's like Magic Johnson makes everybody look good around him. Jack does the same thing. He makes people look good, and he's smart enough to know that if he does his best, and if he presents his best, it's going to make other people look good, which ultimately makes him look good. And he's the most giving actor in that way. We did a scene in The Few Good Men. When you see the picture, it's a courtroom drama, a military courtroom drama. At the end of the picture, there's a scene that's 18 minutes long in the courtroom, where Nicholson, who plays the antagonist, is on the witness stand, and Tom Cruise, the defense attorney, is questioning him. And Jack has a speech at the end of that 18 pages, which is him and Tom all the way through. But at the end of the 18 pages, he has a 2-page speech. I mean, 2 solid pages of dialogue without any interruption. He comes in and he bangs this thing out right off the bat. Now we have to, now because we're in a courtroom, we talked about doing When Harry Met Sally and doing, you know, a scene with 4 or 5 different angles. In this courtroom, it's 18 minutes long. We have 50 angles. There are 50 angles in this thing. So every time we have to do the scene with somebody else reacting, whether it be the prosecuting attorney, the defense table, the witnesses, I mean the defendants, the people in the gallery, the camera's on them, Nicholson's off camera, he has to do this scene over. He did it over, and he did it 50 times. The same speech, letter perfect every time, with the same amount of enthusiasm, the same amount of emotion. And I was in awe. I just looked at it, I said, Jack, I can't believe that you're doing this. I mean, you know, he says, Rob, I love to act.
We follow.
He just loves his work. He loves doing what he does, and it shows. And it's the same thing, like I say, with Magic Johnson. He makes everybody else look good.
And we're back with Rob Reiner. True that Dick Van Dyke's character, Rob Petrie, was named after you?
Yes, yes. Yeah, my dad created the series, and yeah. I mean, obviously I'm nothing like that character, but he used my name, yeah.
How much time did you spend around the set? I'm guessing you were too young to really remember much of Sid Caesar and that stuff, the show of shows.
Well, I do remember a lot of it, but obviously I remember a lot more of the Van Dyke Show. I spent the entire summer, every single day of my summer, when I was 13, 14, and 15, and 16, I think even, on the set of the Dick Van Dyke Show. I went with my father every morning to work. I stayed with him all day. I watched all the rehearsals, the run-throughs. I hung out there for, like I say, 3 or 4 summers in a row. And most of what I've learned about putting shows together, I learned watching my dad work.
Did the pros think you were a funny kid, or just a nice kid who was hanging around?
No, the pros thought I was this weird, kind of brooding, quiet kid. They couldn't make heads or tails of me, I think. I mean, I was always off in a corner very quietly, just soaking everything in. Jerry Paris, who played Jerry Helper on the show, the next-door neighbor, the dentist, he befriended me, and I used to play cards with him in casino. I think I was probably more of an annoyance to everybody than anything else.
I read a Playboy interview with you a few years ago, and at least there was one time when you came out of that show because you just couldn't resist Mary Tyler Moore's butt.
Yeah. Well, could you?
Well, I really don't want to reveal my feelings, but figure it out for yourself, folks.
Yeah. No.
Otherwise, why would I have asked the question?
No, I think I was about 14 years old at the time, and she was 24, and she used to walk around in those pants, you know. She had those capri pants, you know, very tight. And I thought, wow, I don't know what came over me. It was, you know, it was a Dybbuk. It was, you know, some kind of an exorcist thing. I found my hand reaching out and grabbing. I don't know what possessed me. But clearly she told my father on me, because he took me into the office later that day and asked me, he says, did you grab Mary Tyler Moore by the tush? And I said, yeah. And he went, don't do that again, with a big smile on his face.
But she didn't say anything to you at the time, huh? She let it pass?
No, she kind of just let it go, and then that was that.
What was your first acting job in television? Was it All in the Family?
That was my first acting job, grabbing Mary Tyler. No. My first acting job in television was on a series called Hey Landlord.
Oh, yeah, we all remember that.
Do you?
No.
You don't remember it. No, Will Hutchins and Sandy Barron. It was created...
Will Hutchins was Sugarfoot.
He was Sugarfoot. This is after Sugarfoot. It was created by Gary Marshall and Jerry Belson. Gary Marshall, who directed Pretty Woman and Beaches, and who's Penny Marshall's brother. he created this series, Hey Landlord, and I was 19 at the time. That was the first, I did 3 of those, actually.
Come to think of it, I may be opening up a door once again to television hell, but now that I mentioned Sugarfoot, I seem to recall you being on The Tonight Show one time, and you went up in the audience for kind of your own version of Stump the Band, and your premise was they could throw out any TV theme song and you could sing it.
Mostly the comedies. I knew the comedy. I knew a lot of the westerns too, but mostly the comedies, and mostly from the 50s and 60s. I mean, once it gets into the 70s, you know, I know Brady Bunch and I know Gilligan's Island stuff, but I don't know as many as I know from the 50s and 60s. Well, you're going to ask me one now, and I'm going to probably not get it right.
We spontaneously mentioned Sugarfoot. Do you remember Sugarfoot?
I don't, Sugarfoot, I don't remember exactly what I never watched that show, but I remember vaguely. But back when the West was very young, there lived a man named Master's Son. He wore a cane and derby hat. His name was Bad Master's Son. Wyatt Earp, brave, courageous, and bold. I don't forget.
Long live his fame and long live his glory.
But long may his story be told. But we used Paladin, you know, in Stand By Me. Have gun will travel, reads the card of a man, a knight without honor in a savage land. It's fast gun for Paladin, Paladin, where do you roam?
Well, how do we get out of this?
Paladin, Paladin, far, far from home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we get out of it. I think we've entered the trivia vortex. We're being sucked in right now.
Now, if you get this, you move on to the bonus round. I promise it's my last
Correct,
question.
continue.
I'm not going to ask the Patty Duke Show theme because Richard Lewis and I did that one time before
it's great.
and nearly shut the network down.
Patty Duke, by the way, that show was my favorite weird premise of all time. Because let's think about this for a second.
Right.
Identical cousins. Because this is a phenomenon that happens a lot. We see these people walking around all over the place. You're cousins, but you're exactly the same. How does that work? Do you have the same father, or is the mother the same? How does that work?
And here's what you'll find. They laugh alike, they walk alike, at times they even talk alike. You could lose your mind.
When cousins are 2 of a kind.
Here's the last one.
Yes.
No one knows this.
Go ahead.
Lawman, with John Russell and Peter Brown.
I never watched that show. But go ahead, you know it?
I do.
Go. Lawman.
Lawman, the lawman came with the sun. There was a job to be done, and so they sent for the badge and the gun of the lawman. A man who rides all alone, and all that he'll ever own is just a badge and a gun, and he's known as the lawman. Thank you.
Very good, Bob. Very good. And almost on key.
Larity rolls on here, my friends. So pretty much Bill Cosby owes his career to you.
Absolutely.
Is that how we can say it?
Absolutely. And he knows it, and he knows it, and he should be sending me more money. He should be sending me cards, he should be sending me gifts and things. Well, obviously, you know, he would have had his career no matter what I did, but I actually was instrumental in him getting I Spy, in that he was on The Tonight Show. It was hosted by Alan Sherman, the guy who used to sing Hello Mother, Hello Father.
Right.
He was substituting for Carson that night. And I watched Cosby, made his first network appearance, network appearance that night, and he did his karate bit, and he did Noah, talking to God. Yeah. Did those 2 bits. And I watched, and as I was in those days, I was like 15 or 16 or whatever, I could remember everything I ever saw on television. I mean, it would just go right into my head, and I could, say it back to you. My father came home that night, saw me up late at night. What was I doing up? It was like, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. Those days, the Tonight Show used to be 90 minutes. You would have been on a half hour earlier. See, you'd be a half hour later otherwise.
Half hour later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was
really later with Bob Costas.
There was no Letterman and no Tomorrow Show then.
That's true. So maybe it would be a lot earlier. Anyway, he was...
Something to contemplate, my friends.
It was 1 o'clock in the morning. My dad comes home. He said, "What are you doing up?" I said, "I just saw a guy on television. His name was Bill Crosby or Cosby or something like that. He did these 2 unbelievable routines." And he said, "Well, what were they?" And I acted out. I acted both routines for my dad. I did both routines. He was hysterical. My dad was hysterical. And at the time, Sheldon Leonard, who was a partner with my dad on the Van Dyke Show, was casting I Spy. My dad said, "Well, maybe Sheldon should meet this guy." He brought Bill in. He met my dad, and my dad introduced him to Sheldon, and that's how he got I Spy. I don't think Sheldon knew about him then either.
And we still, after 2 shows, haven't gotten to All in the Family. So what's our only alternative? To go for the hat trick.
The hat trick.
But, to take us off the air,
Yes.
the American public demands
What?
The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Oh, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Great film. Jimmy Stewart, John Wayne. What do you want, the theme song from it?
Yes. Gene Pitney had a hit
Gene
with
Pitney.
it.
Where should I sing? The camera one?
Yes.
When Liberty Valance came to town, the women folk would hide. They'd hide. When Liberty Valance came to town, the men would step aside. 'Cause the point of a gun was the only law that Liberty understood. When it came to shooting straight and fast, he was mighty good. Many a man would taste his gun, and many a man would fall. But the man who shot Liberty Valance, he shot Liberty Valance. He was the greatest of them all. Good night.
Thanks for watching Cleveland Live Music. It's awfully bright out here. I'd click on another one of my videos. Quit looking into the sun. Your mother told you not to do that. Please hit the subscribe button. And if you want to support the channel more, there's GoFundMe and Patreon information in the video descriptions. Ooh, ooh!